I had 18 kids for Germany. Welcome in to the Bro Force Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. This is episode 216. I am your host, Mayor Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the movie discussion tonight. It's our 2024 movie preview show. Going to preview the year to come in movies, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Before we get into the movie discussion, though, we have to go around and meet the fellow bros. We start with the mad scientist, Brian Banner, in the lab. Now, Banner, as a scientist, I got to ask, do we really need the periodic table? I mean, it kind of just seems like way too many elements, right?
I mean, yeah, we already have, like, periods and exclamation points. Why do we need a whole fucking table?
It's a joke. It's like the Cheesecake Factory menu. Just chop that shit in half.
And you still have too many options. What is this, a fucking Chinese buffet?
Wow, Chinese buffet sounds good, actually.
It does sound good.
I haven't had one of those in so long. I'll be right back. Next, we go to our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli. Ronnie, this past week, a 6-year-old in my neighborhood laughed at my outfit. I had on slicky pants and a matching jacket while I was taking a walk. Can I sue him for damages for just being a dickhead?
That is egregious and just honestly evil. We are fucking coming after this kid. What the hell is his problem?
I don't know.
Disgusting.
He looked like a Dylan or a Trevor or something like that.
Oh,
it's definitely a fucking Trevor.
No. This isn't just damages. We're going punitive damages. This is like, we need to punish him and anyone who ever has the audacity to criticize you ever again.
I like how he says punitive damages, like we know the difference between regular damages and punitive damages.
Well,
it's extra damages added on.
All right, everyone get out your notepads here. We're going to learn a lesson.
Damages on damages on damages.
Damages on damages, baby. That's what punitive damages are. They're literally damages for fucking up with the original damages. So, like, they're saying, hey, you fucked up so bad, we're extra punishing you. And because it's a lesson to everyone who's watching, look what just happened.
This is why I would never want to be a judge, because, like, you have to literally put a price on a kid making fun of my outfit if this were the case. Like, what's that cost?
You look great, man. I mean, like, come on.
Well, you're just saying that because you bought me the slicky pants and the jacket outfit.
Yeah, you look great. But, yes, that is, if you ever hear someone like, oh, they won $50 million of damages, and then $250 million in punitive, that's the judge being like, hammer down, but that'd be a lesson to everyone.
Well, that's what you are going to hear after this court case.
Yep.
Horns v. Trevor.
Fucking
from his neighborhood. Trevor from the neighborhood.
Ben, are you unwrapping a Kit Kat? What was that noise?
I might have been. Sorry.
Okay. You have enough for the whole class?
I do not.
Yeah, I thought we had a policy of only booze on the pod.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. All right, on the Bro Force Squad podcast, we start every episode with the most important thing in any bro's life, and that is Chest Day. So, Chest Day topic today, as you can tell from the title and the intro, 2024 movie preview show. It's the middle of January, I guess, like latter half technically, but it's time for us to break down what could be in the year of 2024. Now, we, of course, will officially put a bow on 2023 in February with the Broskers. And last week, Cycli and I did our 2023 movie year in review show. So go check that out just to hear us start to put a bow on the 2023 movie season. But now we're going to look ahead to the calendar year that is to come in cinemas and on streaming. And we do this in a bit of a unique way for the Broforce Squad. We have 3 different categories that we cite some of our movies for 2024. And then at the end, we have some honorable mentions, movies that we want to talk about that didn't quite fit into any of the 3 categories that we created. So we begin on a positive note, which is some of our most anticipated movies in 2024. Banner, we will let you go first. This is always a hard one for me because, like, I could go with really obvious ones. Like, it used to just be like, all right, if you name all the tentpole movies, like, fuck you, that's too obvious. But also movies that I'm excited about but don't think they'll suck. I find as I get older, it gets a little bit harder and harder until I actually see the movies. So I try not to be cynical here. But what are some of your most anticipated movies to come in 2024?
So I did my most anticipated this one as Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Nice.
I think the reboot Planet of the Apes movies have all been very solid. I would even argue that they're one of the most successful, if not the most successful film series or franchise in terms of making actual good movies one after another after another. Not saying any of them are great, should be the best movies ever, but they didn't make a bad movie. And in today's franchise and connected universe, that's really hard to do. So I'm excited to see them uh, continue that and see if they can keep on that momentum. Another thing is that it's been a very, very easy story to follow from the first one to the second one to the third one. Now, this one is making the biggest jump. It's going to be 300 years in the future after the events of War for Planet of the Apes. So it's almost like a soft reboot in the same way. Whereas the original three were building the ape civilization and the ape planet, and now we actually have it, and they are thriving. So it'll be a good twist and kind of another way that the Planet of the Apes are able to reinvent themselves in this reboot franchise.
I think this is a criminally underrated franchise. I think
agree.
War for the Planet of the Apes. I mean, War for the Planet of the Apes got Matt Reeves the Batman. That's what people thought about that movie.
Yeah.
My only
it was
concern
hands
here-
down the best of the three.
Oh, yeah.
And the other two were great too.
My only concern here is the director, Wes Ball, is best known for the Maze Runner trilogy, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but also I guess the source material for that is not quite down my alley as much as Planet of the Apes are. Visually, I think those movies look awesome, and this trailer looked really cool, so he has that going for him, but I'm just slightly cautious.
Yeah, I think that the franchise has the momentum. I think he has the backing of the studio to kind of help right the ship. And again, the source material from the Maze Runner series to this is very vastly different. So I'm optimistic.
Do you know in this if we're going to get like any descendants of Caesar? I know in the original Charlton Heston one, when spoiler alert for the original Planet of the Apes 8,000 years ago, at the very end when he sees the statue that the apes are worshiping, that is like a Caesar from generations ago. Have they mentioned if they're going to kind of play off of that at all and tie it into the Caesar we met, or is it so far in the future you think that really just like the canon events of how the apes came to rule is going to be there, but not necessarily any like nods to the characters?
I think there's going to be subtle nods, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal, right? So it's not going to be like, oh, I'm Caesar's lineage, so I'm better than you. I think it's just going to be more of a mention, kind of a side throwaway line. Oh, cool, that's a nod. We can move on, almost like an Easter egg, if you will.
It's kind of cool.
I also could be completely fucking wrong.
I couldn't really tell in the trailer, but I was kind of intrigued by, because again, with not going to spoil how War for Planet of the Apes ends, but there's really, like, you do kind of have to jump ahead to have any, I think, well, at least an interesting story, or at least a jumping off point for one.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Cycly, what's your most anticipated of 2024?
I'm gonna cop out. I kind of have two. One I'm gonna focus on is Gladiator 2, which first of all is an awful name.
Is that the official title? Because that's all I've seen it referred to.
It has to. I mean, right now it is. I just.
Electric
yeah,
Boogaloo.
Yeah, it's not. I'm like, okay. So anyway, first of all, you guys have maybe heard me talk about Gladiator on the pod. It was in pretty recently in my top 100. Fantastic film, but came out, in the year 2000. So we're talking 24 years later, we're getting a sequel, which, for the longest time, I never thought, how would you get a sequel to Gladiator, right? Like Maximus dies at the end, Commodus is dead. It's just really nothing there. You told a really cool story. But we're getting now, Ridley Scott is coming back and brought it. And the concept is Lucius, who is the kid, who's the nephew of Commodus in the movie, is now an adult. And I'm presuming, we don't really know much about the plot, but I'm presuming he is relatively still the emperor of Rome. However, it's implied at the end of Gladiator that Rome was being returned to the Senate. So a couple reasons why this is on my most anticipated. One, Gladiator won Best Movie. It was revered by critics and did well at the box office. Obviously, it's still considered a great epic. But also, there's been a resurgence. I think there was even a meme in 2023 about how they're supposed to be like asking their girls to ask their boyfriends or husbands how often you think about the Roman Empire. And I don't know if you guys have seen that meme, but like it's
yeah,
like
my wife asked me that actually.
yeah,
recently.
it's like the Roman Empire is in right now, which is very strange. You know, like so I don't know, like I don't think Ridley Scott planned this on purpose. By the way, like so I don't. It just happens to be. I feel like if this movie came out a few years ago, or maybe in a few years, it could be very much kind of more so of a miss. Like people are like, we didn't need this movie, but I think there's a lot of anticipation behind it. Ridley Scott is known for his epics. Not necessarily that he hits on all of them. I've talked about Napoleon recently, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do. So I don't know what you guys think. I mean, Denzel Washington is in this. Paul Mescal is, I'm assuming, is playing Lucius. They did not get the original Lucius Kid. I was hoping they would, but I don't know what you guys think. I think I like Gladiator more than you guys, so I would love to know what you guys think.
Ben, you can go first.
I don't think we need this movie. I don't have it as my biggest flop, but I think it can be put in that bucket, in my opinion.
Just wait till you see my biggest flop.
Yeah, I like Gladiator. I think it's a great movie. But with that being said, I don't think we need another one, especially a quarter of a century later. It's just that ship has sailed. And yeah, I don't think we need it. I think a lot of people are going to go, but I don't think it's going to be as good as people want it to be, coming off of and comparing it to Gladiator, which is a great film in its own right.
I'm going to mention it later, so I'll save my thoughts on it.
Oh, so it's biggest flop.
Wait, that's so interesting because I might mention it later too.
Wow, you mention it now, though.
I know. Really quickly, I will mention this was also on there was Dune 2. Dune 1, I don't know if you guys watched it. It was a fantastic film. I really enjoyed it.
Great.
Started it 4 months ago. Just finished it right now.
Yeah, about time. I'm finally glad you started 4 months ago.
I didn't
perfect
take a break.
time.
It's that long.
Yeah. The only reason I want to mention that is I think Dune 1, obviously, again, critics loved it. It was 2021. It was very much punished by COVID in terms of not really getting the full release. I think it made over 400 million still, but it really suffered that, like, hey, everyone's not seeing this in theaters right now. That kind of epic film is meant to be seen in theaters. I'm really excited about Dune 2 because one, it's completion of a story that's pre-written, so we're not getting something like made up like Gladiator 2, but we're seeing something and it's meant to be on the big screen, and we're going to finally get that.
Adding Florence Pugh will get me in the theater. So
yeah, I was actually going to comment on her. I'm always in when she's there.
Yeah. All right, my most anticipated. We're going horror here for both of these. I have two. The first one is A Quiet Place Day One, which I'm very excited for. Loved the first two. Even though John Krasinski is not back to direct, we have Djimon Hounsou from the second one and Lupita Nyong'o, who I'm assuming will play his wife, who we don't see in A Quiet Place Part 2, so I'm assuming this will deal with what happens to her. And this like world that John Krasinski has built, I'm so interested in, and a bit of the flashbacks that we got in Part 2 about like when these creatures came to Earth and what was happening like as all of this was taking place was so fucking interesting to me that I think a prequel movie here is really going to scratch that itch for like, what the fuck is this? What is happening? Like, and I kind of hope we also don't get a lot of answers because I think this is one of those things where like it's cooler the less you know. Having said that, a prequel and like going back to them taking over the planet from like the jump is to me going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I've actually haven't seen the first one, if I'm going to be completely honest, but I loved the second one. I was a little confused about what was going on at times, but I thought it was great. I agree. I think that going back and I think it's always a good idea to go back and learn more about the world. I love expanding universes. I love giving more context to this story because of that story. So yeah, this was almost my most anticipated. It was definitely pretty high on the list for for this next year.
Yeah, I have this as an honorable mention. I think you and I, Jeff, talked about prequels and how dangerous they can be and difficult they can be to really just like bring you in when you already know this, what you think you know the story. But A Quiet Place has done a good job where we really don't know the story, right? Like it's not Star Wars. It's not like we didn't know. And also, can I be honest? I'm kind of excited about watching this franchise and not having it be so quiet the whole time.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually like really excited about like not having to hear the person next to me eating their popcorn
smacking
really
their popcorn
slowly, but like trying to be quiet, but that makes it 10 times louder. It's like, have you ever opened a chip bag and try to be quiet? It's way worse.
It's so much louder.
It's so much
somehow enhances the sound.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that.
And then my other one, and I'm very prepared to be hurt by this, but I'm so fucking excited for it.
Are you gonna mention it?
Saw 11.
Yeah, there it is.
I guess now
that too.
I know them fast tracking it, doing the exact thing that destroyed the franchise in the first place. After we got another great entry in Saw 10, which is we should do a top 10 list at some point because it'll be very high on mine for the year. I can't help it. I'm a Saw head, and like now that the franchise is quote unquote back, and it's got a shot in the arm, fuck me up, man. I'll be there whenever it comes out. I could very much live to regret this, but right now I'm excited. I wish it was October already.
So I'm going to defend it. I'm with you right here. I'm actually not that bothered by how quickly we're getting this pumped out because, yes, Saw has done this over and over, but at the same time,
it wouldn't be Saw.
It wouldn't be Saw, but they've also, as much as they've fucked it up, they've also done it successfully, right? Like Saw 1 and Saw 2, Saw 1 to Saw 3 and 4. But at the same time, if you watch Saw X, they end it with something's up with the villain. We've had our spoilers review. Go listen to that. But there's clearly there's a point left that they're leaving to anticipate, like the audience say, oh, there's another story, like because what happened to her, what's going on, and I think they left that vague on purpose. So I feel like there's a story here. If there's one franchise that knows how to pump out movies, it's Saw. And you know what? I'm ready to get hurt again. They brought me in too, Jeff. I'll be there opening night.
Yep. I'll already pitch our review for Saw 11.
Saw 11, your seatbelts.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a good one.
All right, we ready to move on to biggest sleeper?
Let's do it.
All right. Banner, you went first to start us, right?
I did.
Okay, Cycly, why don't you go first then? What is your biggest sleeper or sleepers?
This is a movie called Sleep.
Just to preface, because this category has evolved over the years, this is typically a movie that we think could be good or could turn some heads, but right now there's either not a lot of hype or it's kind of, in our estimation, going to come out of nowhere, maybe surprise people.
Yeah. So, again, a movie called Sleep. It's a Korean horror film. Technically, it came out in... It's called Sleep. I don't know how that's not a...
Technically, it came out in 2007. Well, that's not even a
2023. It's going to get released in America in 2024. But no, I'm just fucking around. I think the first time we ever did this category, I found a movie called Sleeper that was like coming out that year. I was like, well, that's awfully convenient. My biggest sleeper is...
Like, why is this a category? There's only one.
Yeah, I don't understand. It's Nosferatu. So I don't know if you guys have. So hold on a second. Let me find my notes on this. It disappeared. Okay, so it's
unprepared.
I know it's a Robert Eggers film. Who
big Lighthouse guy for you.
Lighthouse I loved because it introduced me to who Robert Pattinson really is as an actor. I love The Witch or Vivid, however you want to,
Witch is great.
Witch and also The Northman.
Haven't seen Northman.
Okay, so fantastic film. Absolutely recommend. Honestly, I think that ended up being the biggest sleeper in 2022. I don't know how it's not like talked about more. Yeah, and so this is like, I'm not really into vampire movies per se. I know, Jeff, you recently watched like The Last Voyage of the
Demeter.
That's right.
Loved it.
I feel like Bill Skarsgård is in this as the vampire, which I think is a great casting choice.
So he's got to work with all the Skarsgårds then. That's just.
I think that's his like. I think it's in his contract.
He's got Skarsgård bingo now. He just needs Stellan.
Yeah, well, it's basically a gothic tale of a woman and vampire. It's like the book was written in 1922, and I think combined of like we got some vampire movies in 2023, right? Like more like we got Renfield and we got
Demeter. Two very different takes, but yeah,
very different takes.
We also got a Dracula and Renfield, and so yeah, like you said. Now we're going into this. I think if you treat the genre with some respect, I think he's going to bring a level of darkness to it that what you enjoyed, that you saw in the last voyage of the Demeter. He's been 3 for 3. So it's kind of at the point where we're like, okay, no, now prove me wrong. And I think all of his movies have been criminally underrated. This is why I have him as a sleeper pick, because every single of his films, none of them were in like people being talked about like going in. I think Northman did have people talking about it, had a better cast than his other movies. It was more anticipated. It was a bigger blockbuster event. But I think now he's earned the right and has enough interest for people to like watch that, and plus the genre combination. I think this film is going to do really well.
I am like buying Dracula stock up any chance I can get, so I'm definitely in on this. I do need to watch Northman. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Cast is obviously incredible, so this is a good pick. Very, very solid. Do you know at all? Again, I guess only The Lighthouse is the movie that he did this way, but there is a track record of Nosferatu movies being in black and white. Is this in color? Do you know?
I don't know, to be honest with you, but I could absolutely see it that way.
I thought you were going to say, but I could ask.
Yeah, let me reach.
So too.
Yeah, let me.
Let me text him real quick.
I was already.
Hey, Bobby.
It up. I had already done like some research on it, but I
couldn't
hadn't
find
seen
even
anything.
a poster.
That's what I'm saying. So it's very possible that it is. I don't think anything's been announced. But it's supposed to be a gothic horror, like pretty dark. So I could see it being that sense, but I don't think we know enough about the film. I don't think it's slated until a November-December release.
Do October, man. Come on.
This makes too much sense, man.
Do you have any other ones, Cycly?
In terms of sleepers, no. Like I said, I have that in The Sleep. It's a Korean horror movie. Go look at that.
If okay, you're at the point now. You keep making this joke. You're gonna have to fucking watch one of these.
Okay.
What was your most anticipated Asa Butterfield movie that you never actually even saw one year? It's like the first year we did the podcast.
It was The Space Between Us, and it did take me 4 years to watch it. I finally did watch it. I enjoyed it. Wasn't as good as I was anticipating, but it was still a very solid movie. It was good. I liked it.
Gary Oldman and Asa Butterfield, right?
Yep.
See, most anticipated is a vague term. It could be
and
like,
it took
I anticipate this to be not good.
It had a good twist in it too. I suggest it. Space Between Us. I think 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Damn.
Yeah, I believe year 1 or 2 of the year 2 probably of the pod. Nice. All right, Banner, what is your biggest sleeper or sleepers of 2024?
So we mentioned earlier how hard it is to do prequels, right?
Yep.
My sleeper pick is Mufasa, the Lion King story.
So is mine. God damn it.
Fuck me.
Have that on my honorable mention.
So obviously with the live action Lion King, we got a bad taste in our mouth. I think this
live action, my ass.
Yes, I know. The CGI Lion King left a really bad taste in our mouth. I think this has a very high likelihood and great potential to wash that out of our mouth. As long as it's not 2.5 fucking hours long, I think we'll be okay. There is a great story to be told in Mufasa and Scar. I wouldn't even be surprised if Scar isn't called Scar at that time.
Ooh, good.
I didn't see Chiwetel Ejiofor in the cast. Is he back as Scar? Do you know?
I don't know. I didn't look at it that deep. I just saw it and I said, you know what? Just off of the premise of, hey, this is how Mufasa came to be such a great leader of Pride Rock. and what we know of his and Scar's tumultuous relationship, that's all you need right there.
Yeah. Do we know how old Mufasa is going to be in this? Like Simba's age,
don't.
basically in the first one, maybe like
I think so. I think it's gonna lead up to right around his death. So it's gonna be told. Rafiki is telling Simba's daughter the story of her grandfather.
Got
So
it.
that's
So it's
the
like
vessel.
him and Sarabi in high school, and he has like his Letterman jacket, and she's a cheerleader, and she's like all into him.
Yeah, but he's going to tech and she's going to university. You know,
Well, that'll never work.
they're gonna make it work. Okay, they love each other. Timon and Pumbaa are basically going to be playing color commentary the whole time.
Yeah, I did see Eichner and Rogan are back.
Yep, which I wasn't mad about them. I thought they did a pretty good job. So that's my biggest sleeper. I think it has the potential to be very, very, very good.
I will say this, and I was also originally excited about this when Disney announced a live-action Aladdin sequel that was not going to be Return of Jafar.
Yes.
So the issue that Disney has with the live actions is there's a precedent, right? There's like a preconceived idea we all have when we go into the theater of what this story should look like. Yet there's this weird part of us that still wants them to make these, even though we like inherently won't give them a chance. The one place that they could carve out a little bit of success and I think win over fans is live action sequels to these properties that deviate from like the old like straight to VHS sequels, because I think that's an untapped avenue for new stories that will still play on the nostalgia boner that a lot of us have, and that's where this slots in perfectly.
Yeah, and I think they already tested the waters in Cruella, right? That Cruella was fantastic. I fucking loved it. And so they tested the waters of let's make a story that has to do with this original great story, but it isn't that story. Obviously Cruella is Cruella de Vil's origin, which was really cool. But yeah, I agree. I think that they can carve out a good niche of making these new stories. I mean, that's what Disney's always been plagued with, is something works, so they do it again and again and again. These are original stories now. And I think that's where they're gonna have a lot of success.
Yeah. All right. So my other sleeper was Gladiator 2. Because again, for a movie that won Best Picture and is getting a sequel, which I don't know in and of itself, if you don't count Lord of the Rings, like the Hobbit trilogy, if that has ever happened, no one is really talking about Gladiator 2. And I know part of it's because we haven't had any marketing materials. So I'll just take one of my honorable mentions, and I'll just throw it in here for biggest sleeper. And that is the new M. Night Shyamalan movie called Trap, which comes out August.
M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. Am I been mispronouncing? I apologize.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just shortened it up. So as this pod has gone on, I have found myself evolving, I guess, from an M. Night apologist to a fan to now, I think you could safely say I simp for M. Night, as the kids would say.
I feel like I'm being the emperor, like, good.
Use your anger. I don't know, man. M. Night's movies, like when I leave the theater, they're solid to me, and then the more that I marinate on them, I'm like, fuck, dude, that was actually really fucking genius and good. Really everything except for Glass, I think. I was obsessed with Split. I really, really liked Old, and the more I think about it, it gets better and better to me. And then
I love Old.
Yeah, I enjoyed Knock at the Cabin, but Cycling and I say this every time, so if you listen to the pod regularly, I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, but this guy just has the balls to make original shit, and he knows that half the time he's going to get crapped on for it if it doesn't work, but he doesn't really give a fuck. And the movie Trap, we're going to call this the Hartnett-assance, which Cycling and I predicted about a year and a half ago.
Yep.
Josh Hartnett's coming back, folks, and this is only described as a thriller taking place in real time at a concert. So I don't really know what that means, but that's the point. Like they get to the concert and then everything happens in like an hour and 20 minutes, like in real time, basically.
That's cool. So, that's a new idea.
Again, why we stan M. Night, dude? Like, this is it.
Yeah.
Here's
Even
the
if
thing
it
with
sucks, at least he's trying shit.
Exactly.
He came out of the gate hot, right? With like Signs and
Unbreakable,
Sixth Sense. He had a very low valley there for what, 10 years maybe?
Lady in the Water, The
Lady in
Happening,
the Water, The
honestly,
Village.
I hated The Village, but The Village holds up to me
love
now.
The Village. Fuck anyone who hates The Village.
By the way, The Visit. Jeff, I know you watched it. The Visit is incredibly. It's creepy. I was like, if I had seen that in 2015 when it came out, I would have literally been like, M. Night is back. Like, I only watched that a year ago, and I'm so bummed it took me that long.
Yeah, The Visit is fucking awesome. I don't know.
Just
again,
creepy, eerie.
Yeah, and the twist is incredible. I'm just big time M. Night guy, and the premise to this, again, like Cyclist said, at least the dude has the nuts to like say, I'm not going to adapt some fucking graphic novel or a comic book that everyone knows. I'm going to do my own shit. And I know Old is based off of a short story, but the short story is like 12 pages.
Enough. It's
right.
You know the famous phrase, right? Like, die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I think there needs to be another sentence to that, or continue living and eventually see yourself come back. Right?
He's like a Family Guy joke, right? Where it's like it's funny at first and they keep the gag going, and it's like, all right, isn't funny, but then if they keep doing it, it gets funny again.
He literally was the hottest thing, and then I think it got popular to hate him because I read like The Happening, good concept, horrible execution, horrible writing, acting, and then it comes back around to like now it's like actually okay. It's okay. It's cool to say like, hey, actually I like M. Night films. Like we're at that phase in this, and let's see if it goes back to the like villain again. I don't know, but I'm glad he's still making movies, man. We need more of this, to be honest with you.
Yep. Trap, August 2nd, end of the summer. Let's fucking go. All right, last category, biggest flop. This is a movie that's going to fall flat on its fucking face, either at the box office or critically. So this is where we're kind of taking a swing, and we've definitely been wrong in the past, unabashedly. We're not one of those shows where we're not afraid to admit when we fuck up. We do probably at least half the time. So we're just putting it all out there on the table here. It could look like a really dumb pick in 10 or 11 months. I actually have 3, but I won't talk about them too much. I'll just mention that they're all going to fuck up. So let me start with one of mine, Banner, and then I'll let you go. Joker 2, Folie à Deux.
Wow.
Interesting.
This seems like a weird, like, has Joaquin Phoenix ever done a sequel?
No, I'm pretty sure he hasn't, because this was a big deal that he actually signed on for it.
Yeah, and it being a musical is a massive swing for the fences. So
is that real? Okay, I'm sorry. I felt like this is satire this whole time. Is that actually a thing?
I've heard it. It is real.
Jesus
and that was
Christ.
a big reason they cast Lady Gaga as
Gaga.
Again, still no marketing material. Todd Phillips has come out very publicly and said he's kind of cynical about the whole Hollywood process. So I feel like part of this movie could be such a satire of like the sequel in general that it might just miss a lot of people. But also that first movie was so visceral and like, I mean, the fact that it was a quote unquote Joker movie was really in name only, I feel like. And that's not a complaint. I don't know about this, man. There feels like there's a lot going against it. And part of it is the musical aspect, but we also haven't seen any marketing for it. So, like, are they trying to hide this thing? I don't know. I just feel like this could be a movie that we watch and we're like, why the fuck did they make a sequel to Joker and make this it? Joker 2, Folie à Deux. Banner, how about you? It did.
Beetlejuice 2.
That was another one of mine.
Yeah. I think, again, you've got a sequel that's coming out how many years later?
40?
40, yeah. Do we need this? Who really wants this? Again, love Beetlejuice. First one is awesome. It's great. It's a every year watch. But what direction, where do we need to go? Like, I don't understand. I also have a question for you guys. When was Tim Burton's last like good movie that he directed?
That's my biggest problem. And we've talked about doing an episode on this for a while, but if you look at Tim Burton's filmography, for the last 2 decades, he has sucked as a director. And
now, he's produced some great stuff.
Yeah, like his animated stuff has been good. Like Frankenweenie and Paranorman have been okay, but dude, all of his live action movies, right? All of his, I don't know if he did actually Paranorman. You're right, Corpse Bride he did. His live action stuff has been shit.
Like yeah, Dark looking Shadows, at, I haven't watched
Charlie
any
and the Chocolate Factory, Dumbo.
The last movie I watched of his was Sweeney Todd.
What year was that?
2007.
07?
Yeah, that's probably his last good movie, right? And that's 17 years ago.
I did love Sleepy Hollow, Mars Attack. Yeah, in the 90s, he was great.
Batman Returns, Beetlejuice, but then we had the string of like Big Fish was really good. I like that.
Yeah.
Never saw
but then you get into like the Dumbos and the Dark Shadows and the Charlie and the Chocolate Factories and didn't he do one of the Alice in Wonderlands?
Yeah, I never saw that one.
I think he did both of them. I think he did gross. Alice in Wonderland and
that was the one with Johnny Depp and Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Now this movie does have Jenna Ortega, who I'll give anything she's in a chance, but like at a certain point, can she, she's like a good baseball player on a really shitty team. Like if you give up 9 runs and she has 4 RBIs, it's not really going to matter.
That's what I was going to say. Like that was the one saving grace is she is one of the hottest actors right now. So like she's going to have just the fandom get behind this. They did make a statement that she said, I don't even remember Beetlejuice. I saw it as a kid once, like it's been forever, but they're not doing CGI. They actually have, it's actually a very physical movie in terms of like what they have the props on the set. So like that
it needs to look kind of bad. The props do.
Yeah,
like, that's so kind of part of the aesthetic.
So I think that makes me feel better about it. But I don't know if that's good enough. But I it's not a bad pick at all, Banner.
I think everything for this will work except Tim Burton. Like the dude's just so far past his prime. It's like hard to watch. It's like Miguel Cabrera last year. Please just retire. So I had that one too as one of my other ones. Do you have any other beside Beetlejuice?
No, okay. I just went singles today.
There you go. All right, Cycly, biggest sleeper or sleepers?
No, biggest
you mean flop.
My bad. Yeah, biggest flop. Sorry.
I'm gonna go with this really pains me to say this, guys. We're all Oklahoma boys. Going with Twisters.
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, so there's been a theme here, and we'll talk about here in honorable mentions. But like Banner, you mentioned Gladiator 2. Who is this movie for? Right? I don't know, but you know what always plays? The reason I defend that movie, the Roman Empire plays. This is coming. It's an Oscar. It's a follow up to an Oscar winner. Twister, first of all, fucking love it. Philip Seymour Hoffman wearing an OU hat, fucking love it. Right? Like I like that's an iconic movie. Like is it absolutely batshit stupid, ridiculous? Yes, but I don't know what this movie is. I know they finished filming in Oklahoma like a few months ago because there was a bunch of videos on Twitter of people like landing in Oklahoma City, like getting stuck because they were like in the middle of filming at the airport and they couldn't even leave the airport. This feels like, am I going to see it? Yeah, probably. But this feels like this needs to be on streaming. And
yeah,
I don't know why anyone, the Gen Z and everyone else, what this movie brings. Because Twister existed because it was peak 90s. Like, I mean, pure disaster, ridiculous. Like,
it should not have been a success, and it was.
It shouldn't have been. If it was in any other era, it wouldn't have been. It was pure 90s. I don't know what this movie brings other than, to me, nostalgia. But I don't think the nostalgia hits a lot of people as much as maybe the three of us in this room. Right? Yeah. Like, again, we're Oklahoma boys.
I just want to know, it's a movie about twisters and tornadoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you tell a different story?
Well, that's the thing. They don't even... This movie
and without Carrie Elwes and Bill Paxton.
It's not even it's not, arguably, we don't even know this for sure, but it's not even related to the first one, technically.
Oh, so like, you just need a remake. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not even a remake. It's just like another story about a tornado. Like, like again, if you know the weather and you know the science, Twister and inherently in the '90s is a ridiculous movie. I just don't know who this movie is for. I don't know what it's for. I'm excited about it because I'm from Oklahoma originally, but outside of that, this should be a movie that's put on Netflix or Hulu, and I'd watch it casually. Other than that,
this could just be one
this?
that I mean, a great pick for biggest flop because it could just hit theaters and there could be no built-in audience for this IP anymore.
It's very strange, right? Like we're getting 24 years after Gladiator, but we're going 30 years now after Twister.
And to that point, it's 40 years after Beetlejuice 2. Full fucking circle here, guys.
Yep.
All right, I don't even really want to mention my other biggest flop because it just feels like beating up on a movie that's gonna suck. So
let's hear it. Just
I want to know now.
Just name it.
I was just gonna say Madam Web.
Okay, yep. I was contemplating saying that.
Sony doesn't know what they're doing, and you want to include this in your Spider-Verse or not? Because we have a 34-year-old Uncle Ben in it, played by Adam Scott. No one knows what's happening. Look, the trailer. I thought the trailer was like a SNL digital short at first. Literally, like I thought Sydney Sweeney was hosting SNL and it was like a joke. And then I was like, wait, that was the real trailer for Madam Web.
Oof.
It's rough. And we'll know pretty soon because this one comes out, I think, in like 3 weeks. All right. Any honorable mentions? Things that this can be something that you think might be good, bad, or just like one that you're really intrigued by? Because my two are pretty big name properties. I just want to talk about them for like 15 seconds each. Cycly, we'll let you go first. Any honorable mentions for 2024?
Really, the honorable mention is like I think we have a theme here in 2024. Let me. I have a couple of movies I wrote down, obviously that I have mentioned and haven't mentioned. Gladiator 2, Dune 2, A Quiet Place, Twisters, Saw 11, Joker 2, Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim, the Lion King prequel.
Is that animated? The Lord of the because that in Transformers 1 I looked at, but I think they were both animated.
I know Transformers 1 is animated.
I didn't know that about Lord of the Rings. It might be. I don't know enough about it other than what the story is and Aliens. So
I'm excited for Aliens.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like my honorable mentions is basically a theme here. We have
it's called Alien what? It has a semicolon, right?
There's a whole it's a lot. Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
I literally like purposely didn't write it in my notes because like I don't need to write all that. My whole point is in my honorable mention is we're getting a shit ton of prequels this year, guys. Like
Alien Romulus for those.
Romulus, yeah. That it's just interesting to me. Like something I want to like call out is like, okay, we have Dune 2 and Gladiator 2, which are sequels, but like, it's just interesting how much we're going backwards now. I think Hollywood, again, why we've credited M. Night earlier, is if you look up all the biggest movies coming out in 2024, they're either sequels or prequels, and we're starting to get more prequels now. I don't think we've had this many prequels before. It's always been like we're taking things as far as we can and then going back. And I think we're getting to that point. Saw 11, we got that with Saw X, and now Saw 11, technically still a prequel. So I'm just going to take that for what you will. And the last honorable mention I'm going to give is this could have fallen on biggest flop or anticipated or sleeper is A24's Civil War. That comes out here in a few weeks.
That trailer scared me so much I couldn't watch.
It's going to be interesting to see what this movie actually is and how it does. So I'm very anticipated. I don't know if I couldn't put it as most anticipated flop or sleeper. It could be any of those three, though. I just appreciate A24 pumping out original movies. Appreciate M. Night pumping out original movies because we have a shit ton of sequels and prequels this year, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot. I feel like a lot of these studios, it's such bullshit, but like they'll do the prequel, and if it does well, then they'll do the Lega sequel, like discontinue it from any of the continuity just so they can keep the IP going with like a younger cast of actors. And they did it with Halloween. Scream, they've still connected to the continuity, but they basically did it with that too. You and I read that they're doing it with I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't think that's coming out this year, but it's in production. So it's like a cheap studio parlor trick where they just like throw a bunch of shit against the wall and then whatever makes money they run with.
And Lord of the Rings is animated, by the way. I double checked that.
Okay. Banner, honorable mentions.
So I've got two that I'm excited. Transformers 1. I love animated movies and shows, especially ones that
Voice
expand
cast
the
is
universe.
great.
Voice cast is going to be awesome. And that's
ScarJo and Chris Hemsworth.
Mm-hmm. And that's it's going to be a story of Optimus Prime and Megatron when they were friends and how they separated, basically the beginning of the war and how the
Pretty cool.
Autobots. Yeah, exactly.
Is this them on Cybertron?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like Spike Lee said, everything.
Yeah, everything's a prequel, but I'm excited for that one. And then Strangers Chapter 1.
We have a trailer.
Why?
I liked.
I really didn't know that. I didn't look at the trailer.
So from what I heard, this is a trilogy that has already been shot. It's all been filmed of prequel movies.
And all of this happened before the first one with what's her face?
Liv Tyler and Scott
Yes.
Speedman. Yeah. So what I had read was this takes place in one night. The strangers go to 3 different houses, and each one is part of the trilogy.
I'm in.
Yeah. When I read that, I was like, "Fuck yeah, me too."
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't know that. So
Madeline Petch is the only recognizable name I saw from the first one. I think she's from Riverdale. She seemed pretty solid in it. But again, with the strangers, the concept is so fucking creepy. Let's not overthink it. Like, let's not do too. We don't need them like running across rooftops and like shooting grappling hooks. Just fucking find an isolated.
Bro.
You want your V for Vendetta crossover with the strangers. So I'm glad you mentioned this, Brian, because this is, again, I know with a lot of these like lower budget movies, the reason that we don't have much is they don't have the marketing budget to start like pumping shit out a year and a half in advance. So they usually wait till like 3 or 4 months before. So I'm hoping that's one that gets ramped up a little bit closer to its release, which I'm hoping is around Halloween if they're smart. But who knows?
I'm pretty sure it's like February.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's all I got.
All right. All right, honorable mentions. I just have 2 huge ones. Deadpool 3. The list, I had to stop because it was spoiling everything. The list of people returning for this in cameos is insane. And I'm kind of mad that the internet exists because imagine if half of these were surprises in the theaters. Do people not know how to say no to Ryan Reynolds? Because the people that are basically confirmed to be in this are like, I never thought they would wear a superhero outfit again. And he easily got them to come back, which is kind of wild. And then the other one is a number 3, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So
I knew you were going to say
3 of those
that.
already.
Dude,
they're good. They're fun.
I'm not saying they're not, but like I'm like, wait, didn't it? I just feel like all that controversy with the Sonic animation like happened like a year ago, but it's been like 5 years.
Yeah, that's like way in the past now, man.
I know, it's crazy.
Righted the ship. I watched Sonic the Hedgehog 2 like last week or a week and a half ago, which it came out in 2022, and I gotta say, if we did I don't think we did a top 10 list for that year, but that would have been in my top 5. I fucking love Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It was unbelievable. There's a Knuckles show coming out I can't wait to watch now. I'm all back in on this franchise. Give me Sonic in my veins. So whenever Sonic 3 comes out, I will be there opening weekend. So jacked up. When I was a kid, though, this was my shit. Like, I made my own Sonic comic books. I had all the games. I watched the animated series. I was all about it.
It just makes me happy because we panned and society, we all like how bad video game movies have been. And now it feels like we're finally turning that tide.
They get it. They're understanding it now.
Now, I don't know, because obviously, like, Nintendo purchased Sega, but if they're going to do a Super Mario or a Nintendo cinematic universe, at some point you have to bring Sonic into it, right?
Well, they're at the Olympics.
I guess but he's got to be in the Smash Bros. Movie.
Yeah, he's in both. They're not going to kill someone off.
Will his scheduling will he be available?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Sonic died in the Super Smash movie.
Sonic was caught doing coke in his trailer. He couldn't make it to set. Classic. All right, anything else before we put the 2024 preview in the rear view here?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Awesome. We now move on to the second part of our show, which is our protein shake, where we go around and talk about what is in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately. Cycly, let's go to you first. What have you seen since we last talked to you?
Oh man, now let me go to my notes. So something I watched that we didn't talk about last week, Jeff, was Killers of the Flower Moon. So usually this time of year, I try to watch as much as I can about movies that are, tip maybe being like shelled out as like award-winning movies. Um, Obviously, when you have a Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio film, it's going to garner attention inherently. And then on top of that, again, I referenced when I talked about Twister as being originally from Oklahoma, um, and not really knowing the story had me intrigued. This movie deserves the acclaim it's getting. It is very long, and I did watch it in 2 different installments, which is probably not how Martin Scorsese wanted me to watch it.
Well,
but
then he shouldn't make it 3 hours and 10
I
minutes.
also felt like it was more impactful because I didn't feel like, one, I did not see it in theaters, so I watched it at home. It's really heartbreaking, guys. Like, I mean, in terms of like the movie itself isn't like heartbreaking where like, oh, it's such a sad film. It's like to know this happened in real life, and again, being from Oklahoma, being like, I had no idea this happened. It's kind of fucked up because we all like knew about like the Tulsa Race Massacre and things like that, but we were taught that, but a lot of people weren't. There was a lot we didn't know about Oklahoma history. It's really obviously cool to see this story being told, but it's also interesting because the film is really about the birth of the FBI, and the book itself that the
I didn't
movie
know
is based on is
Mhm.
one of the earliest FBI crimes. So like people didn't even know who the fucking FBI were, right? Like they're in Oklahoma and being like government entities, and no one knows what the FBI is, right? Like could you imagine?
It literally was created like for this,
Yeah.
right?
And the extent that like the Native Americans had to go through to even get the attention from local police to Oklahoma police, national like state guard to go all the way to Washington D.C. that there were so many murders already occurring and no one was doing anything about.
Well, I just think of the one scene in the trailer where Jesse Plemons, and I obviously haven't seen the movie, but he knocks on Leo DiCaprio's door and he says, "Yeah, I'm here to see about the Native American murders." And Leo goes, "See what about them?" And he goes, "See who's doing them."
like it's amazing performances. It does feel like Oscar bait at sometimes until you remember that this is real.
Yeah.
The perform like Jesse Plemons always, like he got famous as being Meth Damon, which I think is the funniest nickname of all time.
Incredible.
But like
Meth Damon. I heard that.
you haven't, yeah, because he was in Breaking Bad, and but anyway, the film deserves the accolades it's getting. I can't remember. Sorry, I don't. It's just, it is a tough watch. It is slow moving, but it's a story worth being told. It is a story worth watching, especially as someone with the background in the state of Oklahoma. And Scorsese does it again. Like it's definitely not one that's going to like win audiences over because it's an exciting film. You literally, what I will say about the film itself, he does a great job of being like, is Leonardo DiCaprio a good guy or a bad guy? Are these people just ignorant? Are they dumb? Are they involved? There's a giant conspiracy theory going on that Robert De Niro, everyone, you question yourself while watching this movie. And then when you keep realizing and telling yourself over and over, like, wait, this actually happened, it makes it all the more fucked up. So I do recommend this movie, albeit you might have to watch it in multiple installments.
Cycly, have you read the book?
I did not, but my wife has.
Okay. I read the book, but I haven't seen the movie yet.
So my wife did say that the book is obviously different from the movie. The movie makes it more. The book is very obvious and tells it how it is.
Right.
Whereas, like in the movie, you don't know about Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Robert De Niro's character.
A little bit more mystery.
Yeah, there's more mystery. It does bring you in because it is a film. That's so my wife said repeatedly. Like that's the biggest difference.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, I will get to this at some point. Again, that runtime has scared me off.
Yeah,
For a little while.
watching it an hour and a half at a time makes it a lot more tolerable. And there's a good middle ground where to stop. You don't feel like it's not so intense like you can't stop.
It's a Dobby
What
dying
felt
situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. What felt longer, the hour and 10-minute movie Bikini Hackers or the 3-hour plus epic
Bikini
of
Hackers?
Sorcerer?
Nothing will feel longer. I can watch all 3 Lord of the Rings, all 3 Godfathers, and still feel like that was a breeze.
Yeah. I figured you'd say that. All right, we'll just go round robin. Banner, what's something you've seen lately? What's in your cup?
All right. I'll talk about this one shortly. Before the holidays, went and saw the new Disney animated movie Wish. It was fine. It's not going to be an instant classic. I think those days have passed. This was clearly a tribute to Disney's 100 years of being Disney. And it's a cool idea to kind of play on When You Wish Upon a Star, which obviously is kind of Disney's, what do you call it? Slogan or motto.
Yeah, slogan, motto,
yeah. But it was good. It was entertaining throughout. Told a pretty good story. Chris Pine, dude can voice act like a motherfucker.
He can, yeah.
He's the villain and he does a great job.
Is this are there I don't know if you call the animated ones musicals, but are there original numbers?
Yes, there are. Yeah, I'd consider them musicals.
Okay. Interesting. I hadn't heard anything about this, and usually with the Pixar movies, they just get destroyed nowadays online. So I guess no news is good news.
Yeah, well, and this one was Disney Animation, not Pixar. So this is in this is in the same boat as all the ones we grew up with.
Or is Encanto Pixar?
I think Encanto is Disney Animation as well. Yeah.
Are they distancing themselves from Pixar, or am I just sort of making up that narrative?
No, Pixar just sucks now. Like they did Elemental, which
gross.
Yeah, it was I think they're just not doing as well. They're not making good enough movies. I think Pixar did that Turning Red, so that was a great idea.
Yep, genius. They're on fire.
So I think Pixar is just going in a different direction, and Disney Animation is on the up again.
Nice. I'll have to check this out. Is it on Disney Plus yet, or it's still too soon?
I think it's still too soon. I'd give it probably another month or two, and then you'll be on there.
I guess I could wait. All right. I saw. Let's see what I want to talk about. I watched a movie called There's Something in the Barn. This came out last year. I should have watched it around Christmas, as is the theme with one of the other things I'll talk about. But I had a list of Christmas movies that I had to get through my regulars, that I always watch every year. And then a couple new ones I watched, and so this was one of the ones that just got delayed till early 2024. It's like a low-budget horror comedy Christmas movie, which I know Cycly is usually in for.
Always.
The theme is Martin Starr, who I've actually never seen as a lead in anything, but he's been a supporting character in a billion things. Most notably, the movie Adventureland, and he was in Freaks and Geeks, and he's in the Spider-Man movies. He's one of Peter Parker's teachers in the new ones. Martin Starr plays a dad who just got remarried, and he has one teenage daughter and a son who's 7 or 8. And they recently inherited a house and a big barn from his uncle, who is Norwegian. So they move to Norway for Christmas, and they start to realize that there is something in their barn.
No fucking way.
Wait.
I know.
What?
Yeah, I know. How would you have predicted that? And they start to look up some Norwegian folklore, and they realize that it is a barn elf. And if they don't obey certain rules, the elf will get angry, and there will be consequences. And let me just tell you, guess what happens with those rules?
There are consequences.
Rules are meant to be broken.
It's a short 40-minute movie. They obey the rules, and we go home. It's pretty fun. It's not good. It's not funny enough to really work, I don't think. But I will say this: the action, quote unquote, with the possibly elves, you get a lot of it. Mostly with these movies, I'm like, you didn't have the budget, or you like pulled your punches. Pretty much the whole third act is just like batshit craziness. So I at least appreciated that they gave us what we tuned in to watch, and they didn't focus on like stupid character beats or like much plot. They once they get into it, they really commit to it. And one thing that's pretty funny is the way that Norwegian people deal with like an American's idea of how like the world should work. Like the shit is constantly happening around his house, and he constantly calls the cops. And he's like, "Do you have a gun or something?" And they're like, "This is not America. We don't just go around shooting everything just because there's an elf in your barn. Relax."
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it, but like, temper your expectations. It very much is what it is, if you know what I mean. Like, read the premise, watch the trailer, and that's it. So if it doesn't look good to you based on that, you will hate it. Cycling back to you.
This was a recommendation by you, Jeff. This was James Wan's *Malignant*. Nice. And I am forever thankful that you told me to watch this movie. This is the most ridiculous, insane, batshit, horrible, but also way too fun you can't look away type film. James Wan, who's our boy from the Saw franchise, and there's definitely elements that remind you of Saw in this film. By the way,
a lot of like visual homages. I feel like.
Yeah, Annabelle Wallace, who's the main girl. She actually, so I recognized her from a movie called Silent Night, which I talked about last week on Pod, which I believe you just watched. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts if you talk about that. She was in Peaky Blinders. She's been in a lot, honestly, in The Mummy. And so this film itself is technically, I guess you'd put it in the horror category, but it literally opens so over the top. So soap opera-y. You almost wonder, like, okay, is this on purpose? Is it insisting on itself? Is it a self-aware? Like, you're not sure. And then as you watch the film and as it develops, I don't know. I don't want to give anything away because the film itself is so ridiculous. Basically, the concept is there's a woman. She's dreaming crimes. She's dreaming murders, and these murders are actually happening in real life. And so it turns out her dreams are true and they're related to her in some way. But there's also supernatural, but you don't know if they're supernatural or not, things going on. Then you find out she doesn't have any memories from being 8-year-old or younger. And she grew up in an insane asylum, essentially, or a clinic where they were doing testing on her. What's really going on? That's the concept of the movie. Don't want to tell you anything more because the reveal and what actually happens is so, I don't know. It's uncomprehensible. I mean,
you can't predict it. Just to remind me, the reveal happens like towards the end of the second act, right? It's not like a last.
It's incomprehensible. It absolutely is so stupid, but amazing. Like, this is the peak.
I can say this: no movie has ever taken this twist idea.
And again, what we talked about M. Night earlier. This is not a good movie. But it also is like it's when the reveal scene is up there with one of the most iconic scenes you'll ever see. There's a scene when the girl is in jail, and I mean it is up there with The Matrix and some of the greatest action films, John Wick type like kills. I don't even know how to express this film. Go watch it. You'll hate it. You'll love it. You'll be like, why the fuck did I watch this? It's perfect.
Let me give you, like, without actual words, this is my reaction when the reveal happens. Oh, I can't. You know what? Okay.
Yours is better than mine. Mine was like, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure I said that like 5 times.
I was like, what the fuck? Actually, you know what? I'm in. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Let's go. Malignant.
Banner, I want you to get high and watch this. I would actually just... Honestly, I don't even need you to do this for the podcast. I just want to listen to you watch it while high with doing your own commentary.
He'll be like smoking, like, it's fucking genius, bro.
Either that or I'll actually predict it.
No, you won't. You will not predict it.
That's like literally impossible. But I don't think this will spoil anything. But like tonally, it's like early on, Cycly kind of said it does sort of like dip its toe in a couple different genres, and you're like, are you going to commit to one? And I think by the time the twist is revealed, you realize that the commitment is that it's whatever the fuck it wants to be, and it's going to work.
As stupid buddy cops, over the top acting, over the top. I mean, it's just, I don't know what else more you could want out of entertainment.
All right, I'm gonna have to check it out. Malignant.
No, you have to. And if you do, I want to be involved. Like for real, I have to.
Maybe a blind commentary.
Was it streaming on anything?
Is on Netflix and HBO, I believe, currently. Or sorry, Max.
Oh wow! Yeah, I was gonna say, what's HBO?
It got really confused there for a second.
Either it's possible that I watched it on Max, and a few days ago it got taken off and it got put to Netflix because it is on Netflix now. I saw it.
That's cool. Go check. I might have to give it a rewatch. All right, Banner. What else you got?
All right. Watched a comedy thriller from 2014 called The One I Love. It's got Mark Duplass in it and Elizabeth Moss.
Never even heard of this.
Never. Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah, came out in 2014. It popped up on Hulu, and it's like, all right, we'll give it a shot here. Basically, they are a married couple, and they're starting to have problems in their marriage. They're seeing a marriage counselor, and this counselor suggests, hey, there's this retreat house that, like, you guys go there. Everybody that I send there, they come back and they're happy and everything is great. It works. So they go to this house. It's basically like an Airbnb. They go there and they stay there for a weekend or like a week or something like that. I don't remember exactly how long. And
is it just them, or are there other couples?
Nope, it's just them, just the two of them. And there's like a pool house out back, and individually they each go into the pool house, and there's something that happens in the pool house when you go in there by yourself. And again, I think it's the twist you can see coming, but at the same time, it gets your wheels turning. Like, how would I react in this situation? What would I be doing? Or how do I feel about this? It's an interesting one. I really liked it. I really liked it.
The One I Love, is that what you said?
The One I Love. Yeah, it was on Hulu maybe last month, about a month ago when we watched it.
Oh, that's intriguing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and they get right into it. It's pretty short. I want to say it was like hour 35 maybe.
So I could watch this twice in the time it takes to watch Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yes. Yes, that is correct.
Oh, okay. Now that I'm looking at the poster, I have seen like this is ringing a bell.
Good.
I'll check it out. I like both those actors. Mark Duplass not in enough stuff.
Yeah, underrated, I think.
Yeah. You guys got anything else? I only have one more I want to talk about.
I can always go.
Is it the one that I'm going to talk about, Jeff?
I don't think so. But Cycly also saw this one.
Okay.
Fine.
You guys probably talked about it last week.
Why don't you just get yours out then? What's your
Saltburn.
Yep.
Oh God. We might have to do like a whole
episode. Yeah.
Okay.
Not
I
even
watched
like
it.
a review, just like a straight up open discussion.
Yeah, I need to like decompress still after that. I watched it like a week ago, and I still like it's fucking weird. But
how many graves have you fucked and bathtubs have you slurped since then?
I like 7.
More than normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we got a lot to talk about on that one, but
well, just give us your at least quickly your quick thoughts.
I mean, I don't know now. Like, the more I think about it and the longer I go from watching it, the more I'm confused by it. There were just 3.
It twists your mind up.
Yeah, there were these 3 extremely fucking mind fucking scenes that I just didn't understand, And if you take those out, I still think it's an interesting story. But
yeah, we should rank those 3 scenes in terms of what the fuck.
Yeah. And I think it's still a good story if you take those out, but those are the scenes that make the movie at the same time.
Yeah. In
so
a weird way,
it's
I think
very,
the courtyard
very confusing.
Courtyard scene out of those 3 might be the least what the fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably go bathtub, grave, and courtyard.
I don't know. That's tough.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's weird. I thought it was fucking genius, but I think we should probably do just like a whole episode where we not even a review, because I don't think it can be structured enough. We'll just bring points and like some person will bring theirs up and see where it leads.
Yeah.
Cycling, I think we might have just talked off pod. Did you like Saltburn, or was it just too?
No, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I thought there that would be good to talk about. I think there were a couple plot holes that you and I discussed that made stick out to me. I compared it to Talented Mr. Ripley on the last pod, but I really enjoyed it. Again, it was original. I love fucked up. I love movies that make you think about it afterwards, that you have to sit with. So no, this was a fantastic, fun film.
Definitely one I won't forget that I watched.
I don't know if fun is how I would have described it.
See, I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun the whole time.
It's unique.
Yeah.
Banner, have you seen The Talented Mr. Ripley?
I have. I actually did a report essay on it in college.
This movie reminded me of that, but in a very different way. Similar concept, different execution.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, like conceptually they are the same. Saltburn, I feel like Talented Mr. Ripley had at least a little bit of a studio behind it, like with the reins.
Yeah.
Saltburn, you could tell, just completely let off the leash.
Yeah.
Doesn't give a fuck. Cycly, got anything else?
I'll just mention quickly, because this one doesn't need warranting, but I'm finally watching Succession. My sister has been begging me to watch this forever, and now that it's done and winning all the awards, my wife and I finished the 5th episode of season 1 yesterday. And every time I tell someone I'm watching Succession, they're like, "What the fuck took so long?" And yeah, loving it so far. Amazing cast, amazing acting. I don't need to talk about it too much because, again, I'm way behind in this. So excited to catch up and act like I was cool like everyone else.
How many seasons are there? And then what is it? Is it streaming on HBO? Because I thought it was a Showtime show.
It's on.
What's HBO?
It's on Max. It is an HBO show, and
why would I think it was Showtime? Maybe that's
sure it was always been
Showtime.
Yeah, that's right. And what was your other question? No,
how many seasons? How?
Oh yeah,
how
4.
long?
So it's much less daunting than for someone like you who's never watched Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
How the fuck do I finish? Also they end on a note that I think Succession was kind of on top. I always allude to Breaking Bad finishing on top, whereas Game of Thrones, Banner, I have talked ad nauseum, did the opposite. To the point I still make jokes to my wife, and I go, "Should we ever rewatch Game of Thrones?" And we're both like, "I'm just not there. I just cannot put that time and commitment into something."
It's like you were in a long relationship, ended badly. They're like, "You want to get lunch just to catch up as friends?"
Yeah, you're like, "No." Yeah, there were good times, but I don't know even what I'm doing. I've even started rereading Game of Thrones, and I'm just like, it's tough because of what the show did. So Succession at least ended after 4 seasons, and again, winning all the accolades. So I'm excited to continue on the journey.
I know it's sometimes an impossible task to ask these networks or streaming services to let their cash cow go while it's still popular. It's we don't give a fuck about critical reception. Let's make some money off of it. But
I will say that's the benefit of HBO outside of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and I do think they're starting to realize there is benefit. You can still monetize this long term if it ends where it still has positive connotation with fans.
Well, that's the thing is, Banner and I talked about this. HBO actually tried keeping Game of Thrones on and saying, no, give the proper ending. And it was the creators that were the D&D that were Now they thought they were getting that Star Wars gig, which was just hilarious that never came to fruition. Like they literally shit on Game of Thrones because they thought they were out of there. Like no, HBO is like, no guys, we'll give you the money, tell the story, and they fucked it up. So usually HBO knocks it out of the park. I think they tried to with Game of Thrones. I don't fault them for it. So Succession so far so good.
On a much more micro scale, that Sex in the City, I guess not a reboot, but like a sequel series, and Just Like That. My wife watched the first season of it and fucking hated it. She just watched the second season and she's like, "I'm back in. They fixed this.
Oh, they got her.
It's good again." Yeah, it's good again. I had it like on the background while I was doing other stuff, and so I know a little bit about it. And I was like, "Oh, this actually isn't as dog shit as season 1 was."
Do you think they were in the marketing room? They're like, "We got to get her back."
We lost her, and she's the key cog in this whole thing.
What's her name on the pod? Shakira Hayek.
Shakira Hayek, yeah.
Yeah, we got to get Shakira Hayek back in this.
Yeah, that's all the meeting rooms. All right, I have one last thing. I'll talk about it a little bit briefly. It's a 2021 movie, and I have to specify because this same title has actually been co-opted by a lot of other films. One actually came out pretty recently, and that's a movie called Silent Night. This one stars Matthew Good, Keira Knightley, Annabelle Wallis, Lily Rose Depp, and actually the main kid from Jojo Rabbit, which I might talk about here in 1 second to end the show. Don't want to spoil too much because even I think saying the plot is a pretty big spoiler, but it is a movie that takes place on Christmas Day in England where a group of friends get together to celebrate, but there is this looming, like, sad fact, very, very sad fact that is in the air that needs to be addressed and is a huge driving force in the plot. And Cycly, you really brought this on my radar initially because it is really miscategorized as a comedy or even a dark comedy in some places. And
it is. I don't think it is at all.
Did you watch it, Banner?
Yeah, I've watched it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's like a few moments of levity, I guess, where characters will be drunk and they might do something like a little bit goofy, but really just based on the plot alone to call this a comedy is not only like marketing it in a disingenuous way, but it's like kind of a slap in the face to, I think, what the film's actually, the story, like what it's trying to say.
Yeah, I was shocked. So I literally watched this. I mentioned this, like we put it on because we thought it was going to be a la Krampus, right? Like black comedy, and then it's just
it is not.
No, it is fucked up. And again, I love fucked up movies. I just need to know I'm going to get into that. I'm like, where's the jokes?
It's another one that it makes you think, right?
It makes you think, but like Banner. So I talked to my sister about this. Like, Jeff and I can't reciprocate at the moment, but it's like these kind of films hit different when you're a parent.
Oh, for sure.
And as a non-parent at the moment, like that hit hard. So I can only imagine watching this with the child, like, being like, "What? I can't do this. What the hell? This is awful."
And the very ending, obviously no spoilers at all, but there is another movie that did something very similar. And my wife and I always joke about it. She doesn't really remember movies from 20 years ago that well. But her and I both saw this movie, we didn't even know each other at the time, in theaters. And the ending, we were like, that's a fucked up thing to do. And this movie does the same exact thing.
Did you watch this with her? Did you watch it with Salma Hayek?
No, I didn't know if it was.
Hayek?
Yeah, that's a real person.
No,
I didn't.
Did you watch it with Salma Hayek?
My wife was actually watching in the next room Degrassi: The Next Generation on Max while I watched this. So who really saw the more depressing piece of art?
That's very true. Because I would be very curious what she would have thought about this film.
Yeah. And I actually it's not the typical fare for the Broforce Squad, but I think this would be an interesting commentary because I feel like the discussion pieces in this and especially to get Banner's opinion as a parent versus ours as people that haven't had kids yet, but a lot of the moral dilemmas and the questions that are faced in it might be one of the deeper. Maybe we all just take half an edible gummy and do a movie commentary.
I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm in, but I don't know if it's a good idea.
Yeah, wait. So Banner, when did you watch this, and how did you never say anything?
It was, man, it had to have been a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's weird
been
because for having Keira Knightley in it, like, who's like, especially around the time, I don't know when the Imitation Game came out, but I feel like it was around this time. Like, I don't feel like this was marketed at all until for some reason recently it's been popping up on like apps for me, and Cycly mentioned it. So it was just weird that this went like over my head.
This was one that I want to say it was Hulu. We were scrolling through Hulu and we were like, hey, it's Christmas time. This is a new one. It's, you know,
it has photos of tornadoes in the background.
Like it's a ride, man.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting movie. I can't sit here and say I loved it. I definitely didn't dislike it. It's just movies like this, like performances are good. Movies like this that are, like, oh man, that just pose like these really, really like philosophical, what would you do in these situation questions, like sometimes just make me feel uneasy. And I totally understand if like that's your cup of tea, why you would enjoy it more than I would. But I sometimes get scared when I have to think like this in a film. I kind of just want to disconnect and enjoy reality. That's why that A24 movie Civil War scares the shit out of me, and I don't know if I'll be able to watch it.
This is why I drink and watch the same stuff over and over, because it's comforting.
All right, that's why I watch Chopping Mall, so that I don't have to have these internal debates.
The last thing I'll say on this, I just pulled up my notes from when I watched it. First thing in my notes, this is not a movie to watch on Christmas.
Yeah, for real.
Like that is the number one thing that I got out of this. So
I just need to meet the person who labeled this a comedy.
They're a sick fuck. They're sick. No question to it. All right. Anything else in Protein Shake, or are we ready for the question and answer segment?
No, I'm good. Let's do it.
All right, that brings us to the last part of our show.
You live, bro?
That bird who we missed last week, saying, "Do you even lift, bra?" brings us to our question and answer segment. We ask you a question that we end the pod with. The question today: what are the Bros' top 100 movies of all time? We've been counting them down for about a year and a half now. The list is linked both on our website at broforcesquad.com and in the description of this podcast. Before we pick up today, Banner, why don't you tell the people at home, as we do every episode, this list, really what it is, because as we always say, it's not like the IMDb Top 100 or the American Film Institute's 100 Greatest Pieces of Cinema. It's very unique to our sensibilities here on the Broforce Squad podcast.
Yeah, this is my top 100. There are movies that do not deserve. In fact, I'm looking at like 4 in a row on my list right now that do not deserve to be in any top 100 list anywhere. But for some reason, they stick out to me, whether it's a nostalgia factor or a state of mind, or it's paired with a memory. This is our top 100 movies. Jeff has one that it was the first DVD he ever got.
Yeah, Rush Hour 2.
Yeah. So that is our criteria. This is not how well made a movie is necessarily.
And thankfully for you, because everyone who listens to this pod that I know is like, what is up with Banner's top 100? It is so fucked up. There is no excuse.
It's his, bitch.
But it's mine.
It is
at home, I would encourage you to start this process. And if it seems daunting, here's what you do.
You
get a spreadsheet out. Every time you think of a movie that you've seen, drop it into the top of the spreadsheet, almost like the game Plinko on
Price is Right.
Price is Right, and see how far down it drops. When you think it's better than the movie that you're dropping it down the list with, you stop it right there. And over time, you'll get your list built out. So, Banner, we'll start with you. Last, you gave us your number 46 movie of all time, which was the 2021 film Jungle Cruise. Mine was the first Rush Hour, and Cycly's was Hook. So what clocks in just ahead of Jungle Cruise at number 45 all time on your list?
45. National Lampoon's Vacation. Nice. It is just, this is a classic comedy. You know, when you think about everything that could go wrong on a vacation, you know, you think of this movie. I had a trip recently that everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and it reminded me of this movie, and it was super relatable. And just makes you in that moment go, not that big of a deal. It's funny. It's a fucking classic.
You almost blew everyone's mind because this was Nate Thurman's 46, one behind yours.
I was about to say that was almost what happened to me and you.
Right, which would have been wild because Cycler and I both had the first Austin Powers at number 47. And again, no one has talked to any of the other bros when we made these lists. So
no.
If we had back-to-back numbers that were at the same ranking for a movie, that would be absolutely wild.
Dude, that would have been... The second he said that, I was like, oh, how? Wait a second. I like literally was going to the website to double-check Nate's.
But Banner, I agree. Vacation works on so many different levels. The relatability aspect of the humor is great. It's just like inherently hilarious. And like, I think unlike the one thing that some people don't like about Christmas Vacation is the heavy inclusion of Cousin Eddie. And he's only briefly in this. So it definitely, like, if that is something that he's obviously a polarizing comedic figure, you don't have to worry about him in Vacation. You just get the Griswolds on a classic road trip. My number 45 was The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. And Cycles was Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so we will end with our number 44 ranked movies of all time. Cycles, why don't you go first? What barely edges out Terminator 2 Judgment Day at number 44 all time on your list?
His Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained with Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz, Leonardo DiCaprio, Samuel L. Jackson. I actually feel like this sounds weird, but this movie would be higher on my list if not for dropping off a little bit once Leonardo DiCaprio dies. Once that scene is finished and all hell breaks loose at the plantation, the final 20 minutes are not as fantastic to me. It kind of like with Jamie Foxx redemption story, while it's great, like the performances that we get from like Christoph Waltz, for instance,
so good.
Just I would definitely put maybe in the top 10, 15 performances I've ever seen in a lifetime. Like,
what's crazy, it might be the second best Christoph Waltz performance in the Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about like what Quentin Tarantino, he knows what he can get out of people, and he uses that. And the film itself tells a story, has a huge amount of, I don't know, what Quentin Tarantino does best is like the comedic elements, right? The entire scene of like the Ku Klux Klan and all of that.
The full regalia line is incredible.
But it's also insulting with how dumb the KKK was and everything like that. But the level of seriousness, like, I mean, Quentin Tarantino is a true artist, in my opinion, when it comes to these type of films, because he shows the horror of the slavery. But he does it in such a subtle way that like someone's not feeling like they're getting like a history lesson. And to see like, okay, some people have individual slaves, some people had these massive plantations. It's a film, obviously, that takes place, that is a story that needs to be told in American history. But again, as a film itself is so difficult to swallow, but is just incredible. And obviously this movie had a number of controversies with, the N-words and things like that, but I think that would be contradictory to the history to sugarcoat it, right? Like Samuel L. Jackson's character being a house slave and defending his masters. That was real.
What do they call him? Like an Uncle Tom? Is that what?
Yeah, an Uncle Tom. Yeah, it's just it's a difficult film because unlike there's other Quentin Tarantino movies, while they're obviously just as equally violent and offensive in language and gore, but this one has a sense of realism because while the story itself wasn't historical, the effects were real. And so I think it was impactful that Quentin Tarantino could only Quentin Tarantino could do what he did with this film and really show the horrors of slavery, make the human nature of what was actually going on, and deliver the performances that like Leonardo DiCaprio, Christoph Waltz, Jamie Foxx, and Samuel L. Jackson delivered. Obviously iconic, like, oh, Leonardo DiCaprio actually cut his hand, slamming that beer bottle and doing all those things.
Yeah.
Like, It's a fantastic film, and Quentin Tarantino is still on my list after this. But I don't know that this film,
I think I know what movie, but yeah.
yeah, is as successful as doing a story on slavery that actually got people to watch this movie that probably wouldn't have gone and seen 12 Years a Slave or
Yeah.
Amistad or things like that. That's what's impactful about this film to me.
It's a really good point.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Two things. Number one, can't believe, but I also can believe that Will Smith turned the role of Django down. Classic. But then he did not in place of this. But
was it After Earth?
Yeah, right. I was like,
Yeah.
So like, how picky are we with our roles? Also, probably a top 20 movie quote of all time is from Calvin Candy. You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
I think we say that to each other through text, like every
every other day.
Yeah. Anytime someone brings up a like remotely good idea.
Hey guys, I'm drinking a beer in the shower. Like, well.
You have my curiosity. Also, the meme of him laughing is incredible.
Leo deserves. Leo had. God, the performances. That's what I'm saying. Quentin gets the best.
He gets
out of
the best
everyone.
out of everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, he really does. All right, Banner. What is your number 44? Just ahead of Vacation.
44. This is a Christmas movie. Die Hard. Classic action. Bruce Willis. It's. I remember growing up, we would watch it every Christmas time. Have a little picnic and watch Die Hard.
We have done a commentary on this, and I think you were not met with any resistance when you said that this is a Christmas movie. I love movies that take place in one night. It's a huge thing going for this film, and I just think like any action movie where it's like someone sneaking around and beating the shit out of people, I'm always game for. That Van Damme movie we watched, Sudden Death, where he's like
Sudden Death. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was great. Well, he's going through the bowels. That's like Die Hard, like
adjacent
0 calorie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Die Hard's incredible. We should do like all the other movies in the franchise. Just to
I like Die Hard with a Vengeance. That one's pretty good. The third one with Samuel Jackson. They're running around New York. That was a good one.
None of them have Alan Rickman except the first one. Rest in peace.
Which is a shame.
It's a legend.
Still can't believe he's gone.
Hans Gruber.
Sucks. Not Hans Gruber, but the fact that Alan Rickman's gone.
We just like movies with epic Germans right now.
Yeah.
All right, I will close this out with my number 44 movie, one ahead of the Santa Claus, and that is the 2019 movie Jojo Rabbit. Directed and written by Taika Waititi. I think Taika Waititi's best movie by far. This movie is heartbreaking, it's hilarious, and it's incredibly creative in all the right ways. And I'm actually a little bit surprised it's not higher on my list when I'm going back and visiting this. Roman Griffith Davis, the lead character in this, Jojo, is actually also the boy in Silent Night. So like a weird symmetry that we have here. Again, this movie, we don't use this word often on the podcast at the lack of being pretentious, but I just think it's beautiful, really. Scarlett Johansson's character, I think she gives her second best performance of all time behind Lost in Translation as Jojo's mom. And just dealing with, like, it's Taika Waititi, so he finds a way to put a comedic sensibility on the just absolute absurdity of the Nazi regime and how it, like, exposed some really ugly truths in humanity. But the people who were sane at this time and, like, trying to keep their stranglehold on not losing faith and hope in the human race, and just seeing how that kind of withers away. And really just, I think more than anything, Sam Rockwell's character is a great allegory for just like his character is like depressing, but also like what's the word I'm looking for? He's like the canary in the coal mine, like a warning sign for what happens if we just blindly buy into stuff like this. But it's also like done comedically, as only Sam Rockwell can do. And you could watch this movie, I think, as a straight up comedy and really, really appreciate it. You could watch it almost as a straight up drama and at times bawl your eyes out and get the message. But the fact that it meshes both of them together so well, it should not have been as good as it was. We'll put it that way.
Love movies that happens too.
Yep. Fantastic film. Definitely one that sits with you after.
Absolutely, yeah. There's one image particularly from the movie. I think you guys probably know what it is, where Scarlett Johansson walks into like the town square, and it's just like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Did not expect Taika Waititi to do that. Same guy that did Thor: Love and Thunder, and What We Do in the Shadows.
They're basically the same.
Pretty much. Yeah. All right, that's all I got. You guys have anything else before we let the people go for episode 216?
Nope.
Yep.
All right, the advice that I'll give, and I know Banner will probably echo his typical advice, is guys, when you get your hair cut, make smart decisions. Cycly right now is snowed and iced into his house, and he's probably so glad that the last time he went to the barbershop, he didn't get crazy and get like a Rufio mohawk or something.
Actually, I feel like I'm going to be stuck in this house for so long, I wish I had. I wish I had done something so batshit crazy.
It could grow out before any other human in real life sees you.
Every single morning the last 4 days, I wake up, I go stand in my kitchen and watch the very top. I live on top of a hill, and I watch every car and truck fail to get over the top of the hill and slide back down. I watch
you see him come up and you're like,
do it.
Like you don't
Yeah,
have
I'm
enough
like
momentum.
eating cereal, like, oh, this is gonna be good.
That would scare the shit out of me, man. Not like because anything's gonna happen to you, but like a truck going up and then back down a hill, I'd be nervous.
Yeah, so I'm glad I live at the top and not the bottom of the hill.
This guy's so desensitized now. He eats his fucking Fruit Loops while these people are risking their
I wish I
lives.
had Fruit Loops.
He's
Honey
starting to
Buns.
place bets on how high they'll actually get up the hill.
That's
With
actually
himself, so either
Yeah.
way he wins.
Yeah, win-win.
True. No, I have lots of
Perfect.
friends. They might be imaginary at this point. I've been stuck here so long, but you know, friendship
All
is
the
real.
birds have left. Who do you even talk to? Banner, any advice for the people? Maybe those
Everybody,
driving.
yeah, let's just pull over for emergency vehicles, guys. All right. Roads are getting bad, right? If you're,
cycling
you know, cycling is case in point right there. Can't get up a hill. So just make sure you take it slow and pull over when you see the lights. Don't be a dick and like ride the ambulance ass either. That's, I mean, I know technically you can,
up.
but like it's just a dick move. All right.
What is this, Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal? Let them just fucking do their thing.
Yeah.
Sickos. Sucky, did I ask you for advice, or was that your advice?
Usually my advice is just, guys, the fucking left lane is for passing. But right now, roads are treacherous. Just get off the road unless you need to be on it. Don't be driving. You don't need more bread. You're fine.
Even if you're in Southern California, still,
Yeah.
you don't need
Definitely.
bread.
Well, they're not eating bread in Southern California.
They don't eat
They're
carbs
just-
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't eat carbs. Come on.
that problem solved itself. All right, for the mad scientist Brian Banner and our legal counsel Ronnie Cycli, who will probably be suing you at some point soon. I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek. We are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. It's going to be a fun 2024 at the movies. My goal this year is ambitious. It is to watch 200 films. I'm already at 18.
Oh, you'll
That's
be done in like a
impressive.
few
Yeah.
months.
You're good.
Yeah, I should be done
You're
by
right.
what time?
You're ahead of the schedule right now. It's the 17th.
You can just do Emperor's New Groove over and over and over because it's like 80 minutes.
That's true.
And it's
You
Well,
didn't
I
say 200 different films.
God, that would be like the Guantanamo Bay level torture. Making someone watch. I love Emperor's New Groove, but like you make me watch Yzma 400 times in a 3-week period, I'd fucking light the place on fire. You can find us on our website, broforcesquad.com. That pretty much has all of our links there in the top 100 list. Also, if you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words on Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere podcasts exist, you'll find us. Till next time, try and make it up Cycly's Hill, and you get $10 if you can reach the top. In a car, on foot.
Have any
Cycly will be standing
bicycles
at the
tried?
top.
I did. Okay, this is. I wish there's been so many videos I've wanted to send to you guys on Snap, but I feel like really creepy because you guys have both been to my house. How like we overlook the
Yeah.
hill, and I'm like, I'm also